Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hellraiser Boxing YouTube channel. Please, if you enjoyed today's blog, hit the subscribe button. The fight I'm going to cover today, or the non-fight that I'm going to cover today, as I will say, is Anthony Joshua against Jarrell Big Baby Miller. And why is the fight not happening? Because Jarrell Miller has reportedly tested positive for GW1516. GW1516 is a drug that I'm informed actually is like a replacement for EPO. A few years ago, I used to always hear of cyclists and athletes that were being tested and found positive for EPO, and they received bans for that. EPO and GW1516, what they actually do is they facilitate the transportation of oxygen to the muscles that are working, meaning that a fighter that would otherwise have burnt out and be exhausted, his muscles will keep performing at high intensity for longer, meaning that his performances get better. And I mean, if you watch the fight analysis that I did for Jarell Big Baby Miller against Anthony Joshua, it was quite popular. I think got like a couple of thousand views on here. One of the points that we highlighted for Big Baby Miller was his work rate, because he has a phenomenal work rate, especially for a guy who's 300 plus pounds, who actually looks like he has high body fat percentage as well. Like, he's carrying excess weight. For him to be bounding around the ring, throwing so many punches around, it was quite exceptional. And we mentioned that in the blog, and well, maybe now we know why. Because I mean, Big Baby, he will be crying like a big baby after this, because two things that really strike me is, firstly, this was his opportunity to fight for the world heavyweight title, which, when you come from where he came from, which is not like an Olympic gold medal or anything like that, he's one of the guys that had to work his way up through the ratings. And at the beginning you'd say, well, it's not really very likely that he'll get to the world title. Well, you know, his management, you've got to compliment them on that note, that they got him the shot, and he was due to earn. I mean, first, okay, so to fight for the heavyweight title, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, which he's lost out on because of this. And secondly, financially, the payday, you know, he was reportedly going to get $8 million, which is now gone. He had a 3-fight deal with DAZN, which is now non-existent. If it's proven that he's failed this test, which I believe that it is, but I'm just careful with my words in case that, you know, someone's jumped the gun on that. So where does it go from here? Well, as a sort of push before, there's Dillian Whyte, and I felt actually Dillian Whyte is probably very likely right at the beginning as an opponent that would get this fight. The problem is now that obviously the date's moved to New York from Wembley Stadium. If it was in Wembley Stadium, it would be a no-brainer for me. It would just be, okay, they couldn't agree their figures before. They might have to compromise a bit and offer a bit more money, but that fight can be made and the headache goes away. Do they really want to make Dillian Whyte against Anthony Joshua in New York? The fight's got to take place in New York. You know, they'd have paid a deposit on the venue, the TV, the broadcasting channels will have all had their schedules around those times. You can't just chop and change them. You know, the advertising and everything that contributes financially to that means basically they're stuck in New York. So I think that they need to get a fighter who has credibility in America. And okay, so there's Wilder. Well, that's not going to happen. I mean, I just can't. There's no way it'll be Wilder. The fighter that stands out to me as most likely is Luis Ortiz, who we know Matchroom already had a deal with Ortiz previously. The thing is, I mean, a cynic would say, well, Ortiz was probably signed to make sure that he stayed out of the way of Joshua, because there was no effort or attempt made, as far as I'm aware, to make the Ortiz fight. And before they signed him, he was the name on everyone's lips. You know, this is the guy that's going to be the big test for Joshua, and he would be a big test for Joshua. You know, the fight with Big Baby Miller, for me, it really wasn't what it was being sold as. For me, I mean, I think Miller, yes, he does have a phenomenal punch rate. We know why that was, very likely now. But skill-wise, I mean, look, Big Baby Miller never won medals in the Olympics. He wasn't like an outstanding amateur. Why was he not winning? Because he wasn't good enough. That's why. And the same, when I looked at him, I thought, well, do you know what? Yeah, he does throw lots of punches. He is a massive unit. He's also very open to lots of the shots that Joshua is actually very good at throwing. And this is probably, or very highly likely at least, going to end in a fairly spectacular knockout of a huge guy. And that will work very well in America, getting Americans interested, because they could sell Miller. He was an American. He talked the talk. He's a big guy. He can punch. He's got this phenomenal work rate. All the pieces of the puzzle were all there, except for now this. So who are they going to go to? Well, I would heavily favour now Luis Ortiz. I mean, look, I want to see Joshua do well, but I'm also hoping that they do announce Ortiz, because I was actually thinking of going over there. I love New York City, and I was thinking of going over for the Miller fight. Just not working, but just as a spectator to go and enjoy the event. Even though I don't think it's a great fight, just wanted to be there at Madison Square Garden to go to that fight. If it was Luis Ortiz, I would be even more tempted to go there, a lot more, because I think actually not only are you going to a fight at Madison Square Garden, but you're going to a proper fight, a real fight, a fight that neutrals that are boxing fans would be very interested in going to. I hope they don't pluck some, guy out from, who's never been tested at anything above sort of area level and try and sell that to us. The problem with it being in New York is, firstly, I think American fight fans are less gullible because they are more hardened to the marketing tactics of boxing promoters, meaning that if they put Joshua in against Fighter X, who's got a 15-0 or 20-0 record against all sort of what we'd call in the UK donuts, they will see through that a lot more quickly than in some other parts of the world. I think they will demand, a decent opponent, and also they want to sell it on DAZN. They want to sell it, worldwide, television-wise. And they're going to need to get someone on a sort. I mean, I think Ortiz ticks all the boxes for me. I know he got beat by Wilder, but what a fight it was, and what a fight it would be, him and Joshua. And like I say, I will be going back to New York if they make that fight. I mean, it's very late in the day to be bringing in a replacement. I mean, if you remember Joshua against Takam, well, Takam was a late replacement, and it's a big problem for a boxer if you've been preparing for a certain opponent, which Jarrell Miller is a fairly stereotypical sort of bob and weave, move forward, high volume punching guy. If the replacement is a guy who, like a counter puncher, or someone that sets you up for one big shot or single shots, it's a big adjustment training wise, because with Jarrell Miller it would have been all about, I think it would have been all about setting him up for a big knockout, taking him out with one shot, because what you don't want to do with a Jarrell Miller is stand toe to toe and try and outdo him work rate wise, because then you're going to really gamble with the outcome of the fight, because Jarrell Miller, as we know, really had a phenomenal output. Who will they go for? Well, like I say, I don't think it'll be Dillian Whyte. They couldn't agree with Dillian earlier. He's a British guy. Harder to sell two Brits fighting in New York than a Brit and someone, not necessarily has to be American, but has to be established in America, has to be familiar to TV viewers out there and to the boxing public. To sell the tickets, you want to fill the arena. Madison Square Garden, big place, we don't want it empty, we want to see it full. I mean, Jarrell Miller, he Big Baby Miller, he'll be crying like a big baby after, I think it was $8 million he was due to get. He had a 3-fight deal with DAZN, even if he lost. I mean, his opportunity to fight for the World Heavyweight title, his opportunity to earn big bucks, I would say it looks like it's in ashes now. It's a complete mess, and like I say, he'll be crying like a big baby, I would imagine after that. I mean, he'll be distraught. And I don't understand. I mean, even if he was thinking of doing those drugs, I mean, surely it must have crossed his mind. If I get found taking them, career over. You know, I mean, because it's not just this fight. It's like he's going to get a ban, a lengthy ban, and even after the lengthy ban, who's going to want to risk? Imagine you're a businessman. Look at it like this: if you're a broadcaster, you're going to put a big fight on. All the preparation, so the press conferences, the travel around the world. I mean, look, if I was a broadcaster, I'd probably want to sue him. He's in breach of contract. That can be millions of dollars again. You know, look, they've had all this press tour and everything like that, and here he is testing. I mean, no one's going to touch this guy. He's going to be really pushed down, but he's going to have to go a long way if he wants to recrash the scene. Not an easy thing to do. Not an easy thing to do in the first place, but to do it after you've come through trouble like this, I think, big problem. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you enjoyed the blog, please hit the subscribe button, and I hope to see you again soon on the Hellraiser Boxing YouTube channel.